the Rikishi Fatu Off the Top podcast. Let's go. Rikishi Fatu, all y'all ready? We the ones. It's 2024. Keep it locked on the Rikishi Fatu podcast. Off the top. We gonna talk about everything. Everything wrestling, everything hip hop. Keep it locked. It's time to smarten up. All right, I want to welcome everyone to another episode of the Rikishi Off the Top podcast. And today, man, listen, it's been a wonderful day here. Obviously, it's been, a little bit of raining, and just the day just kind of felt like that type of day where I just needed to come in here and just talk about some stuff. But while I was at home, I got a text from a friend of mine. One of my students back in the day. I like to call him one of my nephews. He's been with me since the doors are open for KnoKX Pro, well over 17 years. And this is my man, Joey Gaytan, known to the wrestling world. He's one of my students, and he's been performing all out in the independent. TMD is in the house. Welcome, Joey.
Man, thank you, sir. Thank you, Keish.
Welcome to my show, man. We were just on the fly here when...
Hey, and you know what? One of your number one lessons that you teach people is how to adapt. And today, honestly, I just came to say hello. And now I'm on your podcast. So it's like, you have to be able to adapt. If you want to be around Rikishi Fatu, like, you got to be able to adapt, because he's going to put you on his podcast and put you in the hot seat. So you better be able to learn how to adapt.
I'm sorry, we're going to adapt right now. So, obviously, we have a little bit of damn...
It's all right.
Difficult. Hey, we still trying to plug shit up in here.
It's okay. I remember one of the first shows we did in Pacifica together.
Yeah.
During your entrance, the sound went off, and it was my first time, I think, ever DJing your entrance music, and the song goes off.
Or is it in the Bay Area?
Yes, sir, in Pacifica.
Oh, that's where all my family members are.
Yes, sir. Yeah. And you didn't miss a beat. Like, you kept walking. But the way you look back at the production table, like, it was like that death stare.
Uh-huh.
But you went in, and the crowd was so hot. This is in Pacifica. This is like 2011, 2012. And they were on fire to see you, and the music just stops. And I'm the DJ, but you just kept it moving. You adapted. Okay. You didn't let that throw you off. Walked in, and then everybody forgot about it, and the match went on.
Just like, ladies and gentlemen, if you're hearing planes going by, again, we out here in Van Nuys, California, at KnoKX Pro Entertainment Academy. But, that was that look like, Joey, don't you mess up my damn music out here.
Yes, sir.
I got nothing but a whole bunch of Samoans and family members out here.
There was like 800 of them. And that's just immediate family. That's just immediate family.
All right, so... But listen, man, what's been happening with you? I mean, how you been?
I've been okay. Yeah. I've been busy. I'm in a tag team, as you know, called the Rock and Rodeo Express with one of your other former students.
Yeah. Hillbilly. Shout out to Hillbilly.
Yes,
Come
sir.
see me.
Yes, sir. Yeah. So we've been really busy just going all over California. Northern California, Central California, Southern California here. On top of that, I'm still doing the acting, still DJing, still doing weddings. And as I told you, I'm getting married myself. I'm getting married this year.
Congratulations.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
I better get my invitation now.
You got it. Oh, you got it. You got it. It's there. So doing that, being a fiance, and I'm getting into production, still doing music video productions. I produced a few commercials.
Damn.
And that's another thing. You got to learn, not just to be good at one thing. You got to do a few different things. And, I've always kind of had my hand in different pots. So on top of the acting, on top of the producing, I'm also working swap meets now too. So, if you ever show up to the swap meet, you ever need a good deal on some Funko Pops, you to come see. Speaking of Funko Pops,
hey,
ladies and gentlemen,
finally,
man, come on now, the Funko Pop heard round the world. Rikishi has got his first Funko Pop.
That's been 2 years in the making.
How did that come about?
Well, it started with WWE also. Of course, I gotta. Hit them up as well. But, they got, with Funko, and, I guess it's a long list of people who they got set up to get their Funko Pops. But damn it, I've never really, since I've been doing a lot of these Comic-Cons, that's all I had my fans ask for was, when are you going to get your Funko Pop? So I turned around and I reached out to the office, hey, when can I get a Funko Pop? Is it possible? Blah, blah, blah. And out of the blues, they said that we're working on it. And 2 years later, here I am. So this is, man, I'm like a kid in a candy store, man.
And not only the Funko Pop, you got a few other figures in the line too.
Well, there's a whole bunch of other figures that are out there. You can get them, out there on Targets, right, or Walmart, and they fly out quick. They don't. Every time I'm doing a lot of my autograph, a lot of fans will say, "Man, we went to the stores, but we couldn't find yours." I said, "Well, that's how quick the Big Bad Booty Man's action figures fly off the shelf." I'm backing it. I'm backing it up.
Slacking on your Mac, and you better get that figure.
That's it. I'm backing it out of the shelf. So,
do you remember that figure you had back in the day in the '90s?
Which one?
The one with the Hawaiian shirt.
Yeah.
You remember that figure?
So that shirt there, that's one of my special sentimental figures. The only time I wore that, and I've never talked about this, Joey. The only time I wore that shirt was on a Monday Night Raw where me and Rock did a promo together. It was running that angle. But on my way to the building, I believe that was Madison Square Garden. On my way to the building, I just found out that Yoko had passed away. And so if you go back and you look up on YouTube and you'll see that match right there with me wearing that blue Hawaiian shirt, you'll see my eyes were just bloodshot red. And it was for me just, my mind was somewhere else. I just lost my best friend, the cousin that, brother from another mother, man. I couldn't believe that this guy was gone, this news. And so, we train in professional wrestling. When you go out there, you just learn to adapt, try to, get your points across and get through the segment. And so I wore that, not knowing that years later, they were going to make an action figure of me in that shirt. So to this day, that was the only time I wore that shirt. That shirt and that action figure is now framed up, and it's up in the, in the family wall, where it'll always stay there. That's probably something that's that I'll never, ever get rid of.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Little TMD had that action figure. That's how I know all about it. It's sitting there at the top of my mind. That was an awesome figure.
That's old school.
What a long way, not only yourself, but your family has come since you cut that promo against The Rock about how the family was being held down. And here we are, fast forward 20, 30 years, and your family is the biggest thing in professional wrestling for the last 2 years. I believe
3 years.
3 years, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Don't get hot.
No.
I'm just kidding.
3 years.
But I mean, as the young, I'm 45, so as the younger kids say, people get their flowers. The Fatu Off family is getting their flowers in the last 3 years. You guys are the hottest. Your children nephews are like the biggest storyline and has kept the WWE afloat. And now WWE is on Netflix.
Man,
How big is that? What was it, $5 to $10 billion?
Big power move.
For the next 10 years, your family had a lot to get that deal going into where it's at today.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very proud of the boys. We the bloodline or the dynasty family, past, present, and the future, has been with WWE for well over 75 years. So we understand what it is to be in there and be a part of this family. When we go in there, it's always, I think what's passed down is the passion to be able to go in there and do your part, as a company player, as a company, a student of the game. But, when you come from this family here, you're already prepped up way before you get there. The thing that we as wrestlers, I can say this for all of us, whether you're in the bloodline or not, is to learn how to survive these, these bookings every day. That, no matter how good you are, Joey, you and I know, as we train here at KnoKX Pro Academy, no matter how good you are, that ring,
it wins every night.
That 3/4 plywood and the steel pole, they win every night. So as a father, as a cousin, as an uncle, a mentor, whatever, it's like I'm always, I'll watch to see that match and some of my friends that I know just to see how they're holding up, But yeah, the numbers don't lie. Or we talk about the bloodline, one of the top viewers that was viewed on a pay-per-view. And we had The Rock come back. He damn near blew up the internet, viewers and blah, blah, blah. So, I'm very proud to be a part of this legacy.
And I've seen some stuff out there. Speaking of the legacy, one of my favorite wrestlers of all time, Bret the Hitman Hart, in his autobiography, he talks about your family and how you guys are the most natural workers. And anybody who watches and studies professional wrestling knows that the Samoans, they are, it's natural.
It's just gifted.
It's like water off a duck's back.
It's just gifted. It's just something that's, we've been around it all our lives. But before coming into it, we've been athletes. When you're back home, you're playing rugby without shoulder pads. Then you're playing cricket. We're playing basketball. You're out there basketball playing with, guys like Yoko. You wonder, how does this big 600-pound guy can move like this? But these are all things that we've always been active. And then when it finally came into professional wrestling, we had a hard time because being athletic, we had to try to channel in how to be athletic but theatrical movement, psychology movement in the squared circle, when to do that move, when not to do that move. And so it took a minute for us with our uncles Alpha and Sika to really teach us the psychology of the squared circle.
When you first started, I'm asking you questions like it's my podcast. I'm sorry.
No, but there's so many things I want chopping it up.
There's so many things I want to ask you.
Yeah.
When you first started,
that's why I got you on here. I knew you was going to ask questions.
There's so many things that because there's just a lot going on in the professional wrestling world that you've had a part of building, and I know in the early days wrestling was a lot different.
Yeah.
Was there anybody when you first started training? And I know you have a lot of history in Texas as well, the Freebirds, and you were managed by Oliver Humperdinck, right?
Oliver Humperdinck. Oh, well, back then,
yes, sir.
It was Sir Oliver Humperdinck and Buddy Roberts, the Freebird.
So people, God, this is gold. Yeah. This is gold. Back then, when you first started out and you were really, really new to the business, did anybody ever really try you? Did anybody ever really try to take advantage of you or?
Well, I mean, let me tap on because my first territory would have to be Texas, in Dallas, Texas. When we first came there, I was trained, but I was also green. And I was with my cousin Samu, and I was actually working. Working at Safeway. I was a courtesy clerk, and just turned 18 and so forth. And I'm like, I'm bitching about this job, man. I said, damn, it's got to be something better for me. Blah blah blah. So anyhow, when I got a chance to go out to Texas, and I'm trying to bridge the gap here so we can, to answer your question. When I went out to Texas, I had no idea that the Von Erichs were the owners of World Championship Wrestling, right? All I knew is they said, well, that you're going to Texas or you're going to get on TV. This is my uncle. You and your cousin are going to get out there, go to work, and, start to build your brand. So, WWE, WWF back in the day can see you, or just any big company, WCW, blah, blah, blah. Because our goal was to get in there and to work with the big companies and make some money. So when I came down the first match, they threw us actually in there against the tag team, which was Kerry and Kevin. Now, when I first came through there, it was, I watched this movie, the Iron Claw that just came out. A big shout out to the family and so forth. But man, it took me back. It took me back to when the locker rooms and the sportatorium are walking through there. And now, after I watched the movie, that kind of, solidified now. It's like, well, damn, that's why these fools were so damn stiff out there. They was on some type of other high.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And the first time, when you first get in there, you're an employee of the company and you don't want to kind of get that heat for whatever, right? But when you're working against the boss's sons, it's like they're coming at you full throttle. And I'm like, man, these cats here trying to take us out or what? But that was right up our alley. Because coming from the Bay Area, we fought all our lives on the streets, right? And soon as that came, he hit me with a chair. I think it was Kevin that hit me a chair, damn near knocked the senses out of me. And out of the blues, here comes Big Sam. Samu, he came with a receipt, boom, hit Kevin with a chair, and here comes Kerry. And it was fun. In a weird way, it was fun of us like potatoing each other. And then we'd get back. We said, well, shit, we're going to get fired now for bringing it to the boss's sons. By the time we get that, both of them, good match, man. That was a good match. We'll do it again. They walked away. I'm looking at Samuel like, what the fuck that just happened here, man? But yeah, I'd have to be, those would probably being a youngster at 18, 19 years old, I was tested right then and there.
Wow, and by the Von Erichs. Wow.
By the Von Erichs. And you know what, man? They were good dudes, man. Watching the movie after, man, big shout out to the whole crew. And, Chavo was in there.
Yes, he
working with a lot of the actors there. Mm-hmm. And it's so good to finally, in the movie industry, that, the feedback he got back from those guys that he was training to take bumps and, go over their matches. They got to find new respect for the boys of what we go through.
Yes, sir.
So it was so good to hear that from some of the actors that were in the movies.
What did you think? Okay, so what did you think? Who was the best casting in the Iron Claw movie? Who would you say was like, wow, that's dead on, like the person?
Man, that was hard for me. I thought the guy that was, I don't know the gentleman's name, but the guy that was the star of the movie.
Okay, that's
Kevin.
Zac Efron. He was
Zach.
playing Kevin Von Erich.
I thought Zach could have been Kerry.
Everybody says that because of the size and the ripness. Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, as many as the worst I thought was the Ric Flair character.
Well, I was getting to that. I
mean, come on.
I have cousins who are not in the wrestling business who can do better Ric Flair impersonations. And we're not drinking the haterade. Rikishi Fatu, I'm sure, knows and dealt with Ric Flair. I've been a fan of Ric Flair my whole life. And just watching that, I'm like, that was a very odd casting because I felt they could have done a very much better job casting Ric Flair. But you know who I thought they did really good with?
Who's that?
Fritz Von Erich.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, he said.
Right?
Absolutely. I thought he nailed it.
And then also, the movie excluded one Von Erich brother. They didn't involve Mike Von Erich.
The young one.
Mike Von Erich.
Was it Mike or Chris?
I'm sorry.
Chris.
It was
the baby.
Yes.
That was the baby, the youngest one.
Right.
No, he was the one that we worked with him. Man, they threw that kid in the ring, I guess, when he was 15 years old in the sportatorium. We were there when that happened, and, knowing, from the stories from behind, assuming with the movie and so forth, not to dig into their personal family issues. But you can imagine a young kid like that idolize all his big brothers. And all we knew that something happened to him and passed away, and didn't ask anymore. It was really none of our business. And just, but as we see, firsthand being at the sportatorium, this kid was in the back, the locker rooms, man, he idolized his big brothers so much, man. I think, to a point to where he wanted to be like them, so, till this day, I don't know, what exactly happened to the kid, and that's one of my main reasons was to watch the movie, was because I wanted to see, maybe they would, possibly throw something out there, about the brothers, about the young kid named Chris, so, but yeah, they did a great job on the movie.
Right.
I felt, just there's so much other movies that we can see now. I mean, how about movies for the Guerrero family? How about a movie for the Hart dynasty?
Yes.
Shout out to Brett and that crew, Owen Hart and Davey Boy Smith and, Natalia and all those cats, And then we'd have to come last with a Samoan dynasty movie because our movie would be hectic. It would probably be like Fridays.
Something came up the other day of the greatest family in professional wrestling, and it said the Rhodes. It said Dusty Rhodes, Cody Rhodes.
Shout out to the Rhodes.
And Dustin Rhodes. Mm-hmm. And I'm not being biased.
Yeah.
Because I'm trained in Ox Pro and I know you and I know the family. I'm not being biased, but I I was like, yes, they're awesome. But if you think about it, the Fatu Hawaii family is not neck and neck. It's leading the way because the legacy your family has in this building, in this industry is strong, and it's not going anywhere anytime soon. I gotta back up a little bit. We were talking about the TKO and the WWE merger with UFC.
Yeah.
When you first started out, if bare knuckle fighting was an option, would you have done it?
You know what? I probably would have, because at that time, if we're talking about a young kid, having to do what he has to do to take care of his family, that's been my documentary for WWE. That's been my why, for all these years. But yeah, no doubt. I think it would have fit right up our alley. Only difference is we're knocking people out for reals now and getting paid for it. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Versus potatoing somebody with a chair and say, oops, sorry, Joey.
Yeah, right.
Like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, this year, especially with the merge of all that with the WWE that's happening right now, it's good for a lot of you students now. If you're out there listening, throughout the world to this podcast, take advantage and find out things like this. Continue to, to train, continue to do your, perfect your craft, to understand it, because WWE, professional wrestling, it's never going to go anywhere. It's just going to merge with other people and different deals like, MMA and blah, blah, blah. Who knows? It might be out with celebrity boxing, a wrestler versus whoever, but it's always going to be out there. So a lot of the kids, it's not, I always say this, for the opportunity, what you guys have today is different from what we have, what we had. Was just limited. Now you guys have so much other options now.
Absolutely. I remember we were talking while you were talking. I remembered something. Another story about Bret Hart. I don't know if you remember this. We're going to talk about ribs for a second.
If this is the one when I'm talking about the after party.
Yes. Oh, you've talked about this?
No, I haven't.
Okay,
but
great.
Since you want to bring it up,
good. Okay, good. Because it's one of my most embarrassing moments ever. And I want to talk to you about ribs in the business, but we'll start off with one of the biggest ribs ever pulled on me by Kishi. So I'm a big Bret Hart fan, and this is when Kishi.
Boy, is he a big Bret Hart fan.
This is when Kishi got inducted to the Hall of Fame. And there was an after party. This is in Santa Clara. This is what, 2014? 2015.
Yeah.
And this after party.
We was lit now.
Everybody was there.
We was lit.
If you were a wrestling fan, you're going crazy. It's overload. It's too much. It's too much.
You had no idea you was going to the after party.
No, I didn't. I had to grab a wristband from Kishi, but I got in there.
Yeah.
And at the table, you're talking to Bret Hart.
Yeah.
And then Steve Lombardi comes by, Brooklyn Brawler. And then David's there, Gangrel. So it's Gangrel, Bret Hart, Steve Lombardi, and Kishi. And Kishi sees me trying to get noticed because I'm hoping, because he's my trainer, he'll go, yo, Bret, come here, Bret. This is my student over here. This is TMD. Come on over here. I thought he was going to do that. So I'm trying to get noticed. I am. So I start fixing napkins.
I can see Joey a mile away.
I don't know why I start fixing the tables. I don't work there. I'm just a guest. And then he goes, Joey, come here. Come on over here. And I was like, oh, my God, this is it. He's going to put me over to Bret Hart. He's going to connect me to Bret Hart. Bret Hart's going to know I'm a student. It's going to be all good. So he goes, Joey, come here. And I come right there, and Bret Hart's right here, and he goes, take a picture of me and Bret.
Hey, go get us some beers.
Oh, I was so hurt. But anyways,
but you did end up getting a picture.
And I called, yes, sir, yeah, of course. But I caused that on myself. But speaking of ribs, I mean, man, you travel with the best of them. Who would you say was the most hardcore ribber? There's stories, of course, of Kurt Hennig, Owen Hart, Davey Boy Smith, but you were there, you lived it. Who would you say was like man, the ribs were a little like, there's like this style ribs, is that the rib you pulled on me? But then there's like, come on now.
The big ribs, right? I don't know. I'd have to say Owen Hart was my favorite is because Owen, you know, he was a funny ribber. You know, he would do things like stuff that doesn't cost anybody money, but he would do things as we're coming out on a house show. On a house show, a lot of the boys, you can relax a little bit. It's not TV, SmackDown, Raw, so you know the guys are kind of just relaxed. So guys would come out for their to their match, their ring intro music, bam, is going off, and all of a sudden the guy comes out the curtain, he's all fired up, and unplugs the audio to the Of course, right off the back, everybody. Where's Owen? Where's Owen?
Oh,
you know?
Man.
And then it come back, the guy, whoever was going out there, the guy come, Owen, did you do that? Owen's just sitting there peacefully. No, I don't know what you're talking about. I was over here, right, Davey Boy. I was there, Davey Boy. Yeah, he was right here. He wasn't out there. But he was such one of my favorite ribbers because there's different type of ribs. There's ribs where, you know, I'm not going to say no names, but you know, one cat came into the locker room back in the day. You wasn't allowed to film anything. And so he would just like video record us talking about whatever, talking about matches, whatever the case it may be. But that was a no-no back in the day. So this was a time during up there in upstate New York. It was February. It was snowing, cold. And the boys, we would all travel together like in you know, carpooling. So there'd be like 5 Cadillacs rolling. And all of a sudden, we see one car in the front. It'll just pull over, and we'd slow down. Cars open in the back seat. The front door open. Somebody grab another person, threw him outside the car. In the snow. Open the trunk. Grabbed the trunk, threw his bags out there, closed the door, boom. We just took off. And we left, and then by the time we got there, we, you know, kind of found out what happened, man. I said, this fool here has been filming. He's been filming the whole tour since nobody even knew he was filming. Now, I ain't going to throw no names out there. You know, if you're listening to this podcast, it'll come to you sooner or later, you know. But this happened 20-something years ago.
Wow.
You know, I mean, this was before Instagram, before TikTok,
right.
before all this, the new generation. Now, it's, you know, go figure, it's cool to go ahead and film stuff from the locker room, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, the ribs of that would have to be. And then probably the OG of the ribs.
Can I guess?
Go ahead.
Mr. Fuji.
100%. You very, very funny boy. You good boy. The ribs of Uncle. Now, I'll just put one rib on. Story. So his rib that, for all the guys that were there, must have been, you know, I don't know, maybe 8 wrestlers, my uncles included. And they told me this story. I wasn't actually there, but Fuji's had a German Shepherd.
I already know this.
So this German Shepherd had passed away, right? So the German Shepherd passed away, and then, you know, a lot of the boys came over, you know, back in the days when any free meal is a good meal for the wrestlers. You wasn't making that much money back in the day. So the fans and so forth, or the boys, were your go-to. You know, if you needed a place to shack or lay down, you'd lay your head down, you'd go to the boys or some of the fans. And so, you know, they would all get together, and one day, you know, they're all sitting on the table, and here comes the barbecue. So the barbecue comes, you know, they all sat down and eating the barbecue. A lot of boys, oh man, it's delicious, blah, 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 blah. Well, by the time they all got through eating, it was Fuji's German Shepherd. A lot of the guys then just kind of sold it. Some no-sold it. Some got hot. Some sold it, like start throwing up and so forth. But you can imagine after Uncle served that and made the announcement, you hear, kind of picture that evil laugh. I told you guys, don't ever rib Uncle Fuji. And that was my went off in my head that ever I'm around Uncle Fuji, I will never, ever even think about trying to rib him, you know. And so I was always on my A game when we used to travel together with Yoko and Fuji, because I was the driver. You know, I think I was the Fatu Make a Difference. So I wasn't doing too well in the business, but I'm sitting with the champ and Uncle Fuji, and you know they was rolling high. I mean, making some serious bank, you know. And so I would be the driver, and you know wherever he went to sleep, I would sleep with because they would check in these $200, $300 hotels. They're expensive. Mm-hmm. And when you in the mid-card, you ain't you motel 8ing it. You know, you motel 6ing that. You know, but when you're driving for these cats, it's like shit. The couch is better than the motel 6 for me. And so I would be with those cats, and man, every time Uncle Fuji, you know, we get in the car, both of them, I feel they both had sleep apnea. Because when we get in the car,
snore.
Oh my goodness! It's like, and you see Uncle in the back because you can see the rearview mirror. Like, but his bald head is kind of just leaning to the left side, and then all of a sudden on the blues he wake up. Junior-san, how long we go? Pull over, looks for some Chinese food. Uncle hungry. And this is after 4 hours, right? None of them sit up, keep me company, and they wake up, they want to go eat Chinese food. So we would find a Chinese restaurant, right? No Google. We had to look. Remember those big-ass maps?
Yes.
Those huge maps I'm talking about?
The whole country, the whole United States, you pull it out, yeah.
So you imagine trying to find, like, okay, we know where we at here, but trying to find, like, where's a... So we would just get to the town and drive around till we find a Chinese restaurant. Uncle Fuji's favorite soup would always be, can I please have wonton soup, steamy hot with a lot of scallions. Yoko would say, just bring me the big bowl of wonton. And so we would sit there and just have this meal with these cats. Now, after we have our meal, now we headed to the building. So we would get to the building. It'd be so early. That's the one thing I hate driving with them. Was because if the call time on a house show was 6, these guys would want to get there by 4. And I didn't understand why. Why do I got to get there at 4? I'm not on until 7 o'clock and 3 hours at the building. But I realized that they were so wanted to take their time to prep up. They had to get there, get their own. They didn't have They wouldn't take a room by themselves like a lot of the big stars, right? They always wanted to dress with the boys. And that was one thing that I've always respected with Yoko. And Uncle Harry was always like that, Uncle Fuji. Like, you know, when you become that big champion, WWE caters to you and give you, you know, your own room, your own this, that. But he would never do that. You know, he always wanted to. So he would get there. We would get there early so he can get the best spot in the locker room for the boys. And it had to be close by the shower, close by the bathroom where Yoko would sit, because the boy didn't want to walk too far to go to. So I'm watching all this stuff. You know, and Uncle walks like a penguin. His knees are, bless his heart, his knees were always on, just painful. It bothered him all the time, Joey. And so he would, you know, sit across from Yoko, still same length to the restroom, to the shower, right? But sit across. So they never wanted to walk in late and make people move from their, you know, where they want to sit at. And so, you know, do that. And then Uncle would, you know, and I'm just bringing this up so you guys can kind of see what I saw in the back locker room with with Yoko and Fuji. And, you know, Uncle would, you know, the hair of Yoko, how he had it up as a sumo, he didn't have he had Uncle Fuji on the house shows. Uncle learned how to do all that. Yeah. You know, make sure that, like, in a way, you know, he really, well, he did, not in a way. He really did take care of Yoko. He stand up, Yoko, that diaper, my goodness, that damn thing was like a mile long. It was long, dude, right? And so he'd have to get it, open it wide open, you know, tuck it up on the Yoko. And then me and Uncle Fuji would kind of wrap this thing around him so he can, because on TV, Monday Night Raw and SmackDown, you have women that can do that for him. Right. But when you on the house shows, this is where the boys take care of the boys.
Right.
You know, so that's the reason why,
this guy here always wanted to get there early, like every house show.
Wow. Would you say the Yokozuna, your cousin Yokozuna, did he have a huge influence on the Rikishi character?
Oh, most definitely.
Because you guys came out in the same like Yokozuna dress, garment, or whatnot, and
once again, like during that time, Joey, it's like for me, I'm at the end of the Sultan now, and my contract is up within 90 days. My mindset as far as, okay, what's the next step? At this time, being at home, I put on about 450 pounds. And I was out in Memphis, Tennessee with Jerry Lawler's company out there. And I ran into Kurt Angle. So Kurt's been down there training for a bit, getting him ready. WWE had sent him down there and so forth. So, I came in, I was holding the strap. So they wanted me to drop the strap to Kurt Angle. So in the meantime, they sent the office. Bruce Pritchard came down and watched me had the match. And, I was feeling pretty good. I was still moving like I was 280 pounds. I stayed active. I gained weight, but I stayed active. And, I was at the YMCA every day swimming and playing basketball, a little bit of racquetball here and there. But you can see I put on weight, And so right after the match, working with Kurt, I came back and Bruce had pulled me over and said, hey, Vince would like to talk to you, And I'm thinking, well, hey, I got 90 days here. Must be about the contract. So I'm already figuring out, all right, just go ahead and just, pay me out and I'm good. I'll move on to the next. But, the conversation came up, he went up there and the conversation was to, I've been wanting to do this idea, but I wanted to do it with your cousin, and but I wanted with you, I wanted to do a full-blown sumo where you're wearing a sumo gear. Now, I'm listening to the idea. If anybody knows, when you're going to the WWE, especially when you're trying to get a job, you kind of shut your mouth when the boss is talking and you just listen of what his idea. So I'm just nodding my head. I didn't give him an answer. I'm just nodding what his idea is. And in the back of my head, there's always this saying, if Vince comes up with an idea, he's going to guarantee to push that idea because that's his idea. And so when he talked about how he wanted the full-blown, your ass hangs out. This is how he's explained. So I want, just, to give you the real sumo where your butt is just hanging out. You got the diaper on and, in my mind, I'm like, I'm looking at him tell me this, this character and how he's delivering it to me. I was like, damn, he's like really passionate about me showing my ass. So be from the training, right? So the training now, you always train adapt, right, Joey?
Yes,
that's
sir.
I say.
Yes, sir.
In my mind, I'm like, okay, I went through all these characters. This was supposed to be the end of the line at the Sultan, but now I'm being thrown another opportunity. And it all comes back for me. It's like what I tell you kids all the time. You got to learn to perfect your craft in a squared circle first. If you do that, you can work any character, right? Which means you get a paycheck. And so in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm already thinking about Rodney Yoko, right? I said, well, shit, I didn't want to, I don't want to wanted to make sure that, my kids were still in high school and elementary, right? You don't want, I didn't want people especially kids in school to kind of have problems with my kids and, talk shit about their father, blah, 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 not understanding the industry, the business of entertainment. Mm-hmm. And so I brought it and I waited until I presented to the family where we're sitting on the, get ready to eat dinner. So WWE, they had sent me these artwork to show what the character kind of would look like, So when they sent it at first, it was black hair. Mm. The sumo gear was flower. You know what I mean? The thong was flower. That's where you see...
Too close to Yokozuna.
Yeah. Well, that's where you see that first picture that's out there. I did a dark match for WWE, and it had like a pink sumo belt. The thong, instead of all black, it was like the flower print. And, you know, it just didn't, like, it didn't feel like it was the real deal. And so, you know, I brought it up to the boys and the family, and, you know, they were young. And soon as they're like, you know, we're okay. The rest for me now, like I said, now this might be a rip, but I guarantee you I'm going to make this shit work. And I had already knew from the time being that, you know, this thing here can either turn for the worst of my career, or it can, you know, be the best that I've ever done besides winning the belts with the head shrinkers. And, you know, so we did a couple twists, and instead of having the hair black, I wanted to dye it blonde. Now we're separate from Yoko, right? But then I wanted to be, instead of that vicious sumo killer, I want to be that entertainer. As soon as it's done, this big Keisha bust a move, I'm the happy-go-lucky. So I wanted to go left from everything what the sumos do, which would make me stand out on my own.
Right, and then that brought you to Too Cool.
Right?
Yeah, I remember they paired you up with Too Cool, and that's
The rest
where
was history.
the character exploded. That's where you started breakdancing.
When we came out, they, you know, back in the day, before Monday Night Raw, they had dark matches, which was Sunday Night Heat, I believe it was. So they put us together, and we went out there. Dude, when we came out there, people didn't know how to react. But soon as the finish was over, Banzai 1, 2, 3, and then we did the dance, oh, it went to another level.
And then when they brought out the glasses, that's where the crowd really got into it, and y'all did
and you know, we came up with that. This is for you guys that are out there listening to this podcast for wrestling, right? So this is how our mentality was, that when we heard the pop, we knew we was on to something. And so we automatically start creating gimmicks. What can we add to the act? Like we came out with the bucket hats. We came out with the yellow glasses. We came out with the wristbands. We came out with the chains, because we knew the more merchandise we put out there, the more it sells, the more we gonna make bank. Domino effect. Got it?
Yes, sir. I want to ask you about Brian, Christopher, and Scotty Tuhati. But before we do that, I want to ask you really quick about the end of your run as a Sultan. Yeah, you had the Iron Sheik as your manager, right?
Yeah.
Can we get one
Bubba.
Sheiky Baby? Can we get Can we get one Sheiky Baby song story, please?
Oh my goodness! You know, I learned a lot from Sheik and Bob Backlund with the Sultan character. They really helped, especially Sheik. He really helped me try to dig into the Middle Eastern culture. You know, he taught me a lot as far as the food and some of the moves to be able to do in the ring and so forth. And I really took that character seriously. You know, that for me, Joey, I mean, you know, I was very, very happy when I got an opportunity with the new character besides being an Islander. Because now it like tests my skills. I was always that, you know, to be able to test my skills. Like, can I make this character really come alive? And when I found out I was teamed up with Sheik, well, I had to live and be like in the mind of Sheik. So we would travel together, and we would turn me on to, you know, Mediterranean food, you know, the shish kebab and the lamb and the rice. This good for you, Baba. You eat this all, and you go training. It's good for you, Baba. I said, yes, Sheik, yes. And, you know, I've been in business for a minute, but just because I know, number one, how close Iron Sheik is to my uncle's Alpha and Sika, and I was a kid when he used to come to the house.
Wow.
I was blessed to be able to have him as my manager, and I more so looked at him like a close friend than the manager, because I really wanted to make him proud. I really wanted to make the culture proud of, you know, if I can fool people enough to, you know, like I'm from this, you know, from the Middle Eastern. And so, you know, we were still staying in Motel 8s and Motel 6, probably Nights Inn hotels. And we used to like those hotels because he used to like driving our car up to the front of the room. And because we'd have our stuff in the room, at least if we hear somebody try to break in, we're right there. And so, you know, of course, we all had our own rooms, and it's about 6 in the morning. I would hear somebody outside. And I'm like, what the hell? And so I would open the door and I would look outside, and I would see Sheik with his wrestling tights, a beanie, but he'd have one of those rags up underneath his beanie. And then he's sitting there with his boots on, a case of beer to your right, cold, and he's sitting there working with those clubs, doing like 500 squats. Then he would do those clubs all the time. Not once have I ever seen him do a sit-up. And you would see his gut, right?
Right.
His gut was like an 8-pack, a 10-pack.
Yeah.
And I thought for a lot of that had to be beer. But when he used to always love you, you feel the abs, Baba. And when you touch his abs, man, that sucker was hard, Joey.
Wow.
And so, you know, he loved his weed, man. Before CBD was a health thing to the world today, shit, Iron Sheik was way ahead of it. I want to say Iron Sheik, Godfather, was way ahead of that, you know? And I didn't smoke too much back in the day, but I would always wonder, like, damn, when you guys smoke, don't you ever get paranoid? You know what I mean? Like going in front of the crowds, forget what you're doing.
Yeah.
And it's totally opposite. It made you relax. And so I understood why Uncle had to have his stuff. That was his thing. When you pull over to the hotel, before we check in, he had to have his 12-pack of beer. He would take it to the hotel, fill up the the tub with ice. The ice was free at the hotel. Fill it up, put the case of beer in there. We'd go to work. When we come back, we'd stop by, get a bucket of fried chicken, KFC. Now we go so we never really wanted to go to other restaurants unless we were invited to go there to get a free meal.
Right.
That's the life of the wrestlers back in the day. You had to do what you do to survive, and he was one of the ones that I've learned a lot from on the road, man. And then being with Bob Backlund, you got a straight edge guy, and you got a guy that does it A to Z. So you can imagine.
Wow.
Right? So we really never really rode with Bob. It was always me and Sheik, but we would meet Bobby at the building or whenever we're doing a signing or whatever. Yeah, man. Big shout out to Iron Sheik, man.
So,
I miss him, man.
When you guys were when KnoKX Pro was doing the Territory League, they brought Brian Christopher out, and I got to spend some time with him. I got to know him, so I got to experience Brian Christopher, who he is.
That's good.
I know you really cared about him, and I know you looked out for him the best you could.
Yeah.
Man.
That was my dog, man.
Yes, I know.
Yeah.
I remember. What is one of your fondest memories of Brian Christopher?
When he stood up to Ric Flair overseas.
Was this in Australia?
Australia.
For the Hulkamania tour.
I think he threw up or something when we were downstairs. Remember the Hulkamania?
Wait a minute, I've heard about this story. Okay, so just to give people context, KnoKX Pro did a tour in Australia. It was called the Hulkamania tour. KnoKX Pro put it together. And there was an incident in the bar where Brian Christopher had gotten sick, and he threw up, and Ric Flair came in and started kind of bossing people around. Take it from there.
Yeah, so Rick was there with his wife at the time, being downstairs, and we were. I look up from upstairs, from the balcony where you can see downstairs, and you can see the bar. And I can hear Brian's ass out there. Just, he's always loud. And if you didn't know him, you'd want to whoop his ass. But anyhow, something had happened where he drank, when Brian used to sit down, something about Long Island iced tea. This was his go-to drink all the time. And he would, I guess he caught a buzz or something. He was down there with Gangrel David Kavika. And Brian got up and, he must have, stomach was feeling bad and threw up. So when he threw up, I think he threw up all over Flair's shoes or something happened. And then Flair got hot. Flair was, trying to get rid of Brian and blah, 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 fuck this guy, whatever, you know what I mean? Like, really, it was an accident. We all see. Now, I think Gangrel at that time was going to get over there. It looked like he was going to check Ric Flair. Now, here's the thing about it, because he wanted to try to get, I think he wanted to try to get Brian fired or, I'll get you out of here. But, well, in the meantime, Brian knew, like, who was running the show, which was KnoKX Pro Entertainment. Because KnoKX Pro Entertainment, we're the ones that booked everybody there. So if anybody was going to get fired, the damn show wasn't going to be
right.
Brian, or Kavika or David. And so it was one of those type of things, you know what I mean? It felt good. I'm sure if it was WWE or somebody else, I'm sure Brian probably would have got fired because of the pull that, Flair has into the office. But it was different, when you running your own tours and you paying the ballers to come out there to work for you, it's like the different part of you're on the opposite side now.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it feels like, hey, you calling the shots now. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So it was that. At the end of the day, Brian threw up, misunderstanding, and Flair got all crazy about it. And that's what the story was.
Wow.
True fact.
You heard it here on the top rope, off the top rope.
Off the top.
Off the top.
We're coming straight off the top.
Off the top.
But so that's what it was, Joey. And, the tour of KnoKX Pro Entertainment, there's a lot of other stuff that we've done and a lot of other stuff that we're getting ready to do. So I expect the fans to keep it locked on KnoKX Pro.
There's another question that's been on my mind. Sorry.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
sorry to cut you off, but I haven't seen you in a long time. So
I know. This is not our last one we're going to do together.
I know, but there's
you only live up the street.
But there is one thing I've been wanting to ask you about.
Okay. We just going to give it all today.
You got 3 sons in the WWE right now.
Yeah, Jimmy, Jay, and Solo.
So Solo.
Okay.
Is his first name after you?
It was Joseph. Right? His first name is Joseph.
Okay.
And then his middle name is Yokozuna. And then Fatu.
But Solo, the name Solo, is that taken from your first name?
No.
Really?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because my first name is Solofa.
Right. So me knowing you and me seeing, his action figure on the shelf, I see Solo, I'm thinking maybe.
Well, who knows? That's a good, maybe he did, because
that's why I'm asking you, because I don't know if that's out there, but I see Solo, and I think he took that from your first name. That's why I wanted to know. See, I got questions, Keish. I got questions.
Okay. Yeah, that was. I'll go ahead and take credit for it. No, yeah, but yeah. Speaking of the boys, they're all doing good.
How proud are you of your sons, man? Well, they are just on top of the business. They are just killing it.
Just as a father in general, right? You trained your kids to, you mold them through their whole lives and so forth. And, as a parent, you always hope that they, take the advice and, they go down the right path. Be it wrestling or just life in general. And, they picked wrestling and, they went to college, they graduated. I'm very proud of my boys, what they've accomplished in life. Now I got grandkids. I got 13 grandkids.
Wow. Yeah,
from my kids and so forth. So my second part of my life now is being healthy to be able to, keep up with my grandkids. My boys and, all my kids, their siblings, they're all doing fine. Everybody's, got families and they're doing well. I can't complain for the life that these kids have chosen. And again, I just, we know as professional wrestlers, at any given time, something can happen. I don't want to get that call. I don't want to get that call because an accident happened in the ring or an accident happened on the road traveling. That's my only worry is that I don't ever get that call.
Yes, sir.
But listen here, man. I know we've been going on for a minute. I want to thank you. Thank you for coming through. You just know that my place is your place. I want to be able to sit and chit-chat, and, we can talk about, tell me about your podcast. What's the name
Well,
where your fans can...
I'm glad you asked.
Yeah, where the fans can follow you, because I know you've been doing some stuff in Texas.
Yes, sir. We got the Fist to Face podcast out of Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can log on to the World Wide Web, follow us on Instagram, Fist to Face podcast, and that's with Brawler Boxing. It's a company out of Texas.
Yeah.
So I've been holding down my own podcast as well, which we want to get you on together as well. And I won't ask you as many questions. We'll probably do 10 to 15 minutes.
Say less.
They were just super stoked when your name came up, and they really want you on board. And as far as do the episode, but I was just really happy to come here today because I love you. I love you and Reno, David. I love you guys, family. I'm so proud of you. I'm so proud of your family. Your son Samson, who I've known since he was a little boy. He's like 8 feet tall now. I literally need a step stool to say hello to him, but I love your family, and I love Jacob Fatu with all my heart. You know, I know you're proud of him too. I'm proud of him. I've had a front row seat to see his success, and he's been doing his best to stay on the right path, and that's why you're seeing what you're seeing out there. Jacob Fatu is the hottest indie wrestler right now. You go out there and you ask who's the hottest, and Jacob Fatu's name is up there, and he trained at KnoKX Pro, and I believe there's a reason why Sefa Fatu could be at Leonardo's downtown and in 3 years' time defeat John Cena at the Crown Jewel in Saudi Arabia. Because of where they come from and their teachings. I promise you that. I'm living experience of that. Before I leave, I just want to say that KnoKX Pro has helped me outside the ring. My life is so good outside the ring.
Domino effect, Joey.
Get yourself a good school, ladies and gentlemen. If you want to train, I mean, you come to KnoKX Pro because it literally changed my life for the better. I have best friends for life because of KnoKX Pro, everyone included. I love you, and thank you very much for having me here tonight.
Well, we love you, Joey, and don't be a stranger, and don't wait so long to come back.
Yes, sir.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's another podcast for tonight, another episode. It is Rikishi Fatu Off the Top. Make sure you keep it locked, and make sure you share, like, and comment on below, because you never know who's watching that. Okay? Keep it locked, and we out. You want to bring awareness to your business? All you got to do is hit the link below, and then guess what? Rikishi Fatu Off the Top podcast will be promoting you. It's time to smarten up. It's time to say things that people are scared to say. It's time to bring you on into my home so you know what time it is. In the locker room, in the hip-hop world, in the wrestling world. You might even come into my kitchen.